Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm the Stretch Professor, and today we're going to be going over a preview for what's coming in patch 11.9. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check out the stream. Starts around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually goes till about 2 or 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very friendly, chill community. Happy to chat with you about anything you want to talk about, whether it's League or life or, whatever. So come by, hang out. And then we're going to do some fresh content for every patch as well. So new patch notes and tier lists. And then I'm going to start doing the topical guides and individual gameplays as well. So be sure to like, subscribe, come back, and check out the rest of the content. And I know I kind of dropped the ball on the tier list this last patch. I just had a ton going on, but I'm definitely going to catch up and do tier lists for every role on the coming patches. So be sure to swing back by and check those out. Okay, let's look at these changes. So, and as usual, this is a preview. So some of this may not come in, but this is off of Mark Yetter's tweet, who's the lead designer, and it's 99% sure that these are going to go through once they put the actual numbers on it on the tweet. So he's been very, very accurate so far. So I think it's definitely worth discussing. Okay, Turbo Chem Tank, they are moving this movement speed down from 60% to 40%. I think overall this is a good move. That item has just been way too strong since they lowered the cost down to 2,800 gold. So it's significantly less than the other tank items. So will this completely knock it out of the meta? I don't think so. I think some people will still get it, like your Udyrs and your Skarners will still want this. But I think especially in the support role, if the tank has another option, which most of them do, to go something like Locket, then I think Locket might become the default again. And it still has been the default on a lot of champions, right? Like Leona primarily is one of the big tanks that's getting picked all the time, and then Thresh does Locket as well. So I don't think it's going to impact supports probably too much. It was an option for supports to have that engage, but even something like Maokai, who might like something like this, and I think that Maokai is very underrated, even as a tank support right now. He usually got Deadmans anyways, which is actually getting nerfed as well, right down below that. But yeah, I don't think it's going to shake up the meta too much for bot lane, just perhaps in some other roles. So I think it's a good change. It's too strong of an item for its cost. Okay, Deadman's Plate. Although I will say about Chem Tank, I wish they would have just lowered the stats on it. I'm a big fan of having unique actives that are high impact, but that you pay a heavy price on passive stats that you get. So I think it's okay to have really powerful actives. It just needs to come at the price of stats. And they've done this pretty well with how they've balanced Redemption over time and even Locket to an extent. Although I think Locket is very strong right now. But I would just rather see their design decisions move in that direction with more unique and powerful actives that you have to, design your team around and sort of plan your engages around and all that kind of stuff, rather than just throwing stats on everything. Because I mean, Chem Tank has like all the stats, right? It's got armor, magic resist, health, cooldown reduction. It just has like all the stats you would ever want as a tank, and it's got this active on top of it. And I think that's where the balancing problem comes in. Okay, Deadmans. So they're taking it from 400 to 300 health, and the cost is still staying the same. I think it's 2,900 gold. So you're losing about 266 gold worth of value there. That's a very big deal. I think the Chem Tank plus the Deadmans on champions like Udyr, on Skarner, it was just too much movement. So ultimately, this is probably good. It will have some collateral damage on Maokai as a tank, which a lot of people don't run that champion. But Bard could also have an impact. Deadman's Plate's a really popular item on Bard. It's like a second item typically. Nunu could be a problem on him, although he has other options. Deadman's nice, but you have other options as Nunu. So I think this is hitting some of those stronger champs, but it's also hitting some other champs that are just kind of collateral damage. So I guess that's fair. Again, although with this one, they are keeping the movement speed the same. So this is a better design choice, I think, than Turbo Chem Tank, because they're keeping the movement speed the same. That keeps it unique, that makes it special, but they're lowering the stats on it. So I think this is a better way to nerf something like that than the Chem Tank nerf. Okay. Item buffs. Moonstone is going from 60 to 70. This was actually really devastating for a lot of supports out there, because when you're just in YOLO queue and you're just constantly walking around and just getting into all of these skirmishes all of the time, that initial tick when someone just gets hit, or when you show up to a fight, you just put a heal on them or put a shield on them or whatever, and they get this bonus. That was reduced dramatically because of the Moonstone nerfs, especially in the early game. So that really hurt it as a first item choice on something like a Lulu, Yumi, and things like that. So I like that they're buffing it up a little bit. I still think that Moonstone is pretty bad design overall, just because it's passive power. Like, you don't have to do anything special to make it useful. They're trying to change that, so I do like the changes they made to where they are defining it as a keystone centered around plus healing and shielding. So I like that its baseline power is much weaker, but that it synergizes really well with other items. So I like that design choice. I think that helps. But it still has a lot of passive power, so that's okay. I think it needed a little bit of a buff after the nerfs, and I think it is definitely better designed than it was a couple of patches ago, so that's good. Death's Dance, taking it up to 55 AD, taking the armor up 5. This is okay on some champs. It's a really niche item, and I think most of the time people just want Sterix, but as a specific bruiser versus bruiser type of item, okay, it's on the table. I already think that bruisers are pretty strong in general in the game, so I'm not sure why they feel like they need to buff those items, but sure. Wit's End. So it's now going from dagger, longsword to it has a longsword in the build path instead of a dagger, which is great because daggers are terrible in the early game. So I like that they're moving that. The attack damage is going up 10, and the attack speed still 40. So it's getting 10 attack damage. That's 350 value, and it has a better component. That's actually pretty huge. I'd have to go through and look at the exact stats on Wit's End, but I would say that will definitely make it much more viable as a magic resist, type of item that you might want. So I think you might see that a bit more. So someone like Aurelia is going to like these changes. She may not get those items all the time, but that does add a little bit more to her toolkit. Sunfire, immolate monster damage going to 150. This is actually pretty huge. That's going to help out the clear a lot on like Nunu especially, and I think Nunu's really strong right now. Yes, they did hit his Deadman's, but he has other options, right? He can go Spirit Visage second item. He can go Thornmail second item. There are a lot of different things he can get and still be very useful. So, I think that's huge on any of the tanks. Rammus is really going to like that. Now, Rammus was running Turbo Chem Tank as well, but let's be honest, like, he can get on you without Chem Tank, right? Like, it's a nice item on Rammus for sure, but I think that this helping his clear out, because he doesn't really have great AoE from my recollection. He does have the Thorns, which is good against Raptors, I guess. I mean, he's okay. But overall, this is a huge buff for tanks in the jungle. I'm trying to think of other tanks. Obviously, Sejuani. I don't know if this is enough to bring her back in, or like Zac is going to like this. There are definitely a few tanks running around that would like something like this. Okay, Hecarim getting nerfed, it looks like a lot. So base armor going down 4. Okay, that's going to hurt his clear early for sure. Gets more per level, whatever. Q bonus damage per rampage stack. Wow, going down to 2%. So that's a max of 4% instead of 10. You do get 1% bonus per 33 of your bonus AD, but you don't want to buy AD on him. That's his whole thing, is he has a ton of baseline damage and effectiveness while still building tanky. So that's just going to bait people, I feel like, into bad builds. Maybe, like, if you get, like, 200 bonus AD, what is that? Like, you need 100 bonus AD to break even on the bonus. And I don't think you're getting that with a lot of items early on. Maybe. I don't know the exact breakpoint of, like, Trinity Sterix, but it's certainly much later in the game. It's going to hurt his clear for sure in the early game. The W healing is 30% plus 1% per 40 bonus AD that you deal. Okay, again, I just don't think that's enough. Percentage is halved for damage dealt by allies. Oh, that's a huge nerf to his healing. So in a team fight, because what the W is, like, you have that thing around you and then you heal for the total damage somebody takes in there, I believe. So that's a massive nerf in team fights. E minimum damage It's getting knocked down, what, by 45? Oh my god. And then the E maximum damage is going down by 110? What? Okay, Hecarim's in the dumpster. I think. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I think I just straight up dumpster fire with Hecarim. And I'm okay with that. I think, I don't know. He's been in the meta for a while. He's very frustrating as a support player because he's really, really hard to peel, which is what makes him effective because of his ultimate. So I think he's a problematic champion when he's too good in a meta, just because he just does too much. And he really benefited a lot from a lot of the preseason changes to where he doesn't have to get a jungle item anymore, and he can just skip straight up, to his really powerful items. So yeah, I think he's done. I think this right here is so much damage later on. I mean, it is what he maxes second, so you're not going to feel it early, but like in that mid game, levels like 7 to 13, when you're starting to put more points into it, it's definitely going to be a lot more damage. So early on, you're only losing 5 damage, but late game, you're just not going to have that, one-shot potential on the back line. So it's really bad. Okay, Morgana jungle. I don't get it. I feel like she's not that good in the jungle. I've seen her there a couple of times. I don't know her win rate, but I was really underwhelmed. It's like, okay, she can clear camps, but like, she just like walks at you in lane and just hopes that she hits her Q, I guess. I mean, she does have a high win rate. You can't argue that. 54%. So she's winning games somewhere. And she's a 9% pick rate. So, I mean, I guess she's effective. I don't know. Maybe I just saw bad Morganas in the jungle. I don't know. But, okay. I mean, if it's 54% with a 9% pick rate, you got to do something about it. So, okay. They're nerfing her. Diana. Now, this one can be a little stronger if she gets fed. She does have a high win rate as well with a higher pick rate. Actually, second most picked champion right now. I can understand the Diana thing because she can jump on people. Like, she has a really good gap closer, and it's pretty consistent once she gets her ultimate to be able to get in there, and one-shot people. So I could totally understand why she could be problematic if she's too strong. So they're nerfing her attack speed by 5% early. HP regen is down. That shouldn't matter too much, I don't think. Slightly less healthy clear. Armor per level is down, but her base armor is intact. I think she'll still probably be pretty good in the right situation if you're allowed to just kind of passively power farm up. Dr. Mundo getting less armor per level. AD per level is less as well. Is he a problem? Because, again, I haven't been playing the most games of League in the world, but I've been playing like 4 or 5 games most nights, and I just do not see... No, there's Dr. Mundo. Okay, I guess he's 54% top. I don't know. I never see him. But, okay, nerfing him a little bit. Rumble overheated on hit damage. Okay, they're taking that down a little bit. I thought those Rumble changes were pretty crazy and that he'd be really good. I haven't seen a ton of him. I've seen him a couple of times. I don't recall him being insane, but okay. Vlad, yeah, that was a big, it was a huge buff to Vlad, giving him 1 second on his Q. That's like his bread and butter for how he fights and how he trades in lanes and his team fight survivability, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're nerfing that a little bit. That's probably good. Jinx, rockets can crit for 200% now. Wow, they were critting for 200 instead of the 175. So basically, she was getting a free little mini Infinity Edge passive just on the house for fun. And I like how they say this is a bug fix nerf. I mean, it is, I guess, technically, but bug fix makes it seem like, oh, it's not a big deal, right? It's like, it's a huge deal that she's getting way more crit. So I think Jinx will still be good. Maybe that's propelling her to very high numbers. I don't know. But that's a significant nerf to her. So I think she'd go down to 52, maybe even lower. 80 carries are not in a great spot right now. Like, there aren't any 53s that are popular 80 carries. Like real 80 carries that are picked more than 1% of the time. It's really just Jinx is almost at 53. So she's probably going to go down a little bit. Maybe that moves Ashe up. And a big part of that, though, is Hecarim is such a terror. And so many of these Kim tank users like Rammus and stuff like that are just so difficult to peel. So maybe that will help out ADCs quite a bit if they knock them out of the meta some. So we'll see. But anyways, that's a substantial nerf to Jinx, but I still think she'll be pretty good if she has the right kind of protection. Gragas, E damage. Again, I really don't see Gragas being a big deal. Maybe in Challenger or top end, he's better, but okay, sure. I feel like I almost never see that champ, and when I do, it feels like I'm rarely like, whoa, that champ's OP. But Heimerdinger, why are they nerfing Heimerdinger? Oh my god, dude, the damage, what? They're taking off 10% of his damage on his W? Why? Who plays this champion? It's like the 5 people on the server that play Heimerdinger. They're like, hold on a second. Hold up. We can't have him cracking what? Like 53%. Okay, so in the bot lane, he's literally 53% with a 1/3% play rate. Freaking, like, Veigar bottom and Swain bottom are picked more. Tom Kench bottom, of course, that's like with the Senna fasting lane or whatever, but I don't get it. Where's the problem with Heimerdinger? I guess mid lane he's 54, or just like all the melee bruisers just like constantly spamming Mark Yetter's like tweets, his feed complaining about Heimerdinger or something. Because again, it's less than a 1% play rate. I mean, yeah, if something has a high win rate, you got to pay attention to it. But if it's less than a 1% play rate, there's some serious problems with that champion most of the time. I mean, maybe people just don't like him because he's too hard to play or something. I don't know, but I just hate to see him get nerfed because he's such a unique and interesting champion. He's difficult to play. Yes, he is very annoying if you're playing a melee champion against him, but there's a lot of stuff that's like that. Yes, melee champions are annoying to play against, like, I don't know, like Renekton middle or something like that, right? Like there are other champs that are similarly really like hard dominant against melee. So I don't know why they're picking on Dinger. So I have no horse in the race. I don't play Dinger, but I just think that he's an interesting champion, and I just hate to see him get nerfed when virtually nobody plays him. And you know, I just wish there were more unique champions that were in the meta, and I think pushing niche champions like that out of the meta because there's maybe like one trick person in Challenger that's pissing off streamers so that they complain about it enough, is getting this champion nerfed because statistically just nobody plays the champ, and he's not that far out of line. He's at 53%. So, and like he's never banned, never picked. He's irrelevant except for, you know, the 5 one tricks on the server. So anyways, that one kind of miffs me a little bit, but it's because again, I just like unique champs, and I think it's good for a diverse meta. Anyways, okay, Garen, knocking him down a little bit. Sure. Now Garen, on the other hand, is a champion I'm perfectly fine if they nerf him because he's very generic. He's a very simple starting champion with very, very little skill expression in his kit, which is fine, but he's just a stat check. So I really don't think he's that interesting of a champ. And he is kind of oppressive, especially at lower elos, so I think that's fine. Okay, champion buff, Kindred, 9 seconds to 8 seconds. They've buffed her several times over the last few patches, so maybe she'll come back into the meta. She's a unique champion, so I like that she's around. I think having something like an AD carry option out of the jungle is cool. I think that's good for the game. Now it's annoying for a lot of champions that I play because she's very good against engaged champions with her ultimate. But nevertheless, I think it's cool to have some options, especially if they're going to be buffing up these tanks with the Aegis changes, at least some of the big tanks. Then I think she matches up pretty well as an answer to those, potentially. Okay, Shen, R value. So they're nerfing Shen. I guess. I mean, is he that problematic? They just nerfed Titanic last patch or something, and Shen is like one of the only people that consistently buys that item. I guess Camille. Was he even picked in? He's like 52%, 5% pick rate. It's not even that bad. Again, I don't like playing against Shen because, you know, he can come down and interfere with bot lane. Those global champions are just really annoying to deal with a lot of times. So personally, I'm okay, you know, with that. As far as like my win rate goes, I'm cool with that. But again, I think he's unique as a split pusher, and maybe he's getting played a lot in pro. When he's too strong, he can be like really dominant in pro. So that's okay, I guess. I think he'll still be okay. It's not that big of a deal. Um, Let me see. Oh wait, hold on. They are giving him scaling with that bonus HP. Oh, okay, okay. So if you have like, dang, that's quite a lot, isn't it? That's actually a big buff, right? Oh, it does. It is under champion buffs. Hold on, what? If he has 1,000 bonus health, that's 175 extra shield? That's actually really good. Okay, never mind. Scratch what I just said. That's actually a really, really big buff because he stacks a lot of health. And the Sunfire, it doesn't affect minions in lane, I guess. But okay, so they are encouraging you to build Tanky Shin, which most people do. Okay, sure. Xerath. Okay, so less base damage, better scaling with the AP ratio, W, better scaling on both ends. Okay, I really don't like Xerath too much in the meta. I don't know, he is very skill expressive, but he is extremely dominating, and it is very, very difficult to deal with him, especially in solo queue, because he just has such huge range that if someone's really good on him, and he gets ahead, it just feels like there's almost nothing you can do about it. I mean, obviously you have to have hard engage or flanks or both, but he's dangerous. He's dangerous to buff. Even though people don't play him a lot, it's just there's limited counterplay if he's too strong. So, a little iffy about that one. Kog'Maw, giving him better resistance shred, and they're lowering the cost on his E. Okay, what the E is the goo. Okay, so now he can use the goo defensively a bit more. So they're trying to not just give him raw damage. They did a few patches ago, I think, buff his W. Okay. Okay, I mean, Kog'Maw's, he's kind of a stat check ADC, but he is somewhat unique in the sense that a lot of his damage is magic damage and percentage-based damage. I wish they'd do a little bit more with his ultimate. I think that would be cool. Like, maybe if he hits his R on somebody, then he gets a little bit of bonus movement speed for like a second and a half or something, just a kite if he's constantly hitting his R. I think the AP cog is really toxic for the same reasons I just talked about Xerath, so I like that they've kind of pushed that out of the meta. But I wish there'd just be something where he would get a little bit more peel or mobility or something like that, but he's just designed to be just a glass cannon. Almost like Jinx, you just gotta have a lot of protection. So, okay, I still don't think this is gonna propel him all the way up into the meta, but he is very good against single target tanks. Probably better than Jinx against single target tanks, and extremely good with like Lulu. So okay, I don't feel like he's that bad right now. I wouldn't be surprised if his win rate, I didn't look, but it's probably like 52. Yeah, almost 52%. So he really doesn't need that much love. Okay, Taric, Q mana cost is down significantly, which is good. 90 per. Maybe that's enough. All they have to do with Taric to fix him is just every auto attack refills some number, 5% of your maximum mana. I don't know what the exact number is, but just build it around every auto refills mana, and that way if he's in combat, if he's spamming his spells, auto attacking to lower the cooldown, it only makes sense that he would get mana back for those things. And then he wouldn't have to worry as much about having to get mana regen. Because right now, he just goes so fast in most fights. And some fights, it's really dangerous to have to stand in there and take hits. And if you're having to get stuff like Tear of the Goddess or, Redemption or Moonstone or some other type of regen item, you're just going to be too squishy to get in there. So, ideally, he should just be able to go like Locket, Frozen Heart, or some other tank item and just sit in combat and fight. So that's just what they need to do. Just whenever he casts a spell, his empowered auto attacks already give bonus damage. Just give him bonus mana back. I don't know the exact number, but just allow him to make it through, a 15-second fight without having to do that much in terms of mana if he's constantly auto attacking. Okay, Lulu. Cooldown by 1 second on W, and it's getting an extra 5% attack speed. That's dangerous because Lulu's extremely strong with certain champs that have a lot of snowball potential right now, like Jinx, Kog'Maw, Vayne. It's a lot of stuff that she's very good with. And yes, they did nerf Staff of Flowing Water to some extent, I believe, but she can also get Ardent Censer. They're already buffing Moonstone again back on this patch, which she likes. And that W is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, basic ability on a support in the game. It's certainly in the discussion. I mean, it's a 2.25 second piece of point-click CC, or it is a 30% movement speed, 35% attack speed steroid. So it's really, really good. So the fact that they're lowering that by 1 second is a pretty big deal. So Lulu would probably go up 1% off of these changes. She's going to be very good in the right circumstances. So that's pretty big. Trundle, E slow amount early on, 32. Okay, this is good for like just kind of carry Trundle. It's maxing Q, maxing W for jungle. I still don't think he's going to be that great, but they're giving him a bunch of little buffs over the last few patches. They just keep, pushing him a little bit, so maybe this will be enough. I mean, the big one is if tanks come back. If Sejuani's back in the meta, Trundle's back in the meta. I think that's what it's going to come down to. So he needs to be going against an Aftershock tank. Pretty much. At least one on the enemy team. So Trundle really thrives in those tank metas because it's that utility of his ultimate to allow your team to break tanks better. That's really useful for him. So we'll see how the meta shifts. If we do start seeing more, he's very good against Nunu as well. Hard counters Nunu because you can just pillar his snowball. It's absolutely awful to play the Nunu side of that matchup, I can tell you firsthand. Very good against Sejuani. So we'll see how it goes. So it looks like they're buffing tanks, but they're trying to also buff champs that are pretty good against tanks, like Kindred and Trundle. So that's a pretty good design choice, I think. Kayn, Red Kayn, 65% total AD plus 5% of the enemy's max HP. Okay, that's a pretty big buff. I think Red Kayn can still be pretty good. Keep in mind they did also buff Death's Dance, which is extremely good on Red Kayn historically. So I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. You might start seeing Red Kayn again. And then Set, W % expended grit. 25 plus 10 was 20 per bonus 8. So you need to stack a bunch of bonus AD to get it. I don't think that's happening most. I mean, so this is like for top lane Set, not for support Set. Maybe. I mean, I have to think about it. What he usually goes like Blade of the Ruined King top. I just don't feel like he's that great right now, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll keep it under 30 minutes. But yeah, that's okay. Sure. I really don't think he's that interesting. I mean, I guess he can tackle people, and you do have the counterplay. The cat and mouse game. How much do you damage him? Can you react to dodge his W? So I guess it's interesting. It's more interesting than Garen in terms of trading and stuff top lane. So that's all right. So yeah, it should not affect support Set, or jungle Set. I don't think, but could be pretty good for top lane Set. Once again, I don't know all those matchups, but that could be good. All right, so overall, pretty good patch. I mean, these are things that people have been asking for a while. The Hecarim nerf, the Kim Tank and Deadman's nerf is basically Udyr and Skarner nerfs. And then the Sunfire is a huge deal for tanks like Nunu, which is good. So it's like they're hitting Nunu on the Deadman's, but they're buffing him on the Aegis. So I think that's a nice touch. So they're bringing back the tanks, but they're also bringing back stuff that's good against tanks. Buffing Lulu also and buffing Kog'Maw gives you more answers to tanks. So I like this. It's very elegant. They're buffing different champions that interact with each other in the meta. So I think that can hopefully lead to a nice little healthy evolution in the meta. I don't think the meta is that bad right now. I think it's interesting. I think there are a lot of different champions that are viable, but most of these changes are on point, except for the Dinger. What the hell with the Dinger? Anyways, other than that, that's going to be it. Thank y'all very much. Hopefully you enjoyed it. They did just release some information about behavioral changes, so changes to the dodge system, changes to the AFK system and the penalties, and so stay tuned. I am going to do a video about that probably later today, and then like I said, I will do some new tier lists probably starting this weekend about the upcoming 11.9 patch. So thank you very much. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe.